Hey everyone, it's a special day today because I have a guest on the Cooking Everything Outdoors show. Gary House, the Outdoor Cook, Cooking Everything Outdoors show. I hope you try this at home. My guest is none other than Steve Howard from the Grow Your Own Grub podcast. Steve, welcome to the Cooking Outdoors show.
Thanks for having me, Gary.
Absolutely. This is exciting for me. You're the first ever guest on the show, and I couldn't be happier. Steve and I have known each other via the phone and online for a couple of years now. We've talked back and forth about video and such, and just kind of got this brainstorm because you moved out here recently from Texas.
San Antonio area, yes,
San Antonio,
sir.
Texas, out to Northern California, which is not too far from where I am. And we just said, hey, let's shoot a video, and here we are. Take a minute or a minute and a half. Actually, I'll give you a minute and a third. And tell us about yourself.
Okay, well, as you said, I'm Steve from Growing Your Grub podcast. We've been podcasting about growing your own grub by mostly vegetables and organic and getting away from commercial food movement, and of course part of that is cooking that food. And in the process with that, over on YouTube I started just dabbling around in Cook's Garden channel, and which is a mix of gardening and a little bit of cooking, and that got me to be interested and start following your show, and here we are today.
And we're cooking up chili and cornbread. Way to check this out. So the first thing on our menu is cornbread. I got this recipe roughly about 3 years ago at a cornbread contest that I was judging here locally. And some friends of mine, Tom and Joyce Reese, they came out with this recipe. They called it their broccoli jalapeno cheddar cheese cornbread. And it was so good and so flavorful. We're using Bob's red mill cornmeal mix on this, and broccoli and jalapeno and cheddar and a few other goodies, so it's really delicious. We're cooking it in a Camp Chef 10-inch Dutch oven. Going to get a little height on that, so it'll be more cakey and get a tall rise, which I really like on my cornbread. So those little flat pancakes that you just don't get enough of, right? And then secondly, we're going to make chili. And Steve, what kind of chili are we making?
This is a true Texas chili. It's not mine. It's inspired by, it's changed, modified a little bit, but it's actually what's called a Pedernales chili. It's from President Lyndon Johnson, and we're using what's called a chili grind meat, not ground beef. It's simply a sirloin or ground or a round that's half-inch, three-quarter-inch cubes, and I think you'll find it has a
cubes or grind.
Well, grind it, but if you can't get it ground,
you cube it.
You cube it. And by chili grind, I mean that grind is big. Yeah. It's about half-inch cube. But if you can't get that, a nice knife, and you can still make your own. Don't give up just because of that.
Okay. Well, it's time to start putting together our cornbread first is what we're going to do. And the ingredients are seems a little complex, but it's really pretty easy. The first and most importantly is I'm using Bob's Red Mill Stoneground cornbread mix. 2 cups of that. I have half a cup of whole milk, 3 cloves of garlic minced, 1.5 cups of cheddar cheese, roughly a half a bag of frozen broccoli, 2 jalapenos seeded and minced, 8 ounces of cottage cheese, 1 medium onion chopped, and then 4 eggs. So first thing we need to do is get our batter mixed, and then we'll saute our vegetables, and I'm going to show you a little cheater trick on that. So let's take our cornmeal mix, and you know what, why don't you crack some of these eggs in there, Steve, we'll get those going. Okay. And I'll add the milk. And this is what we do. We're cooking outdoors. You gotta throw things.
Oh, compost pit. Yeah, that's handy.
Compost, yeah. No, but you know there's a compost pile there now. We'll add our cottage cheese. And so let's get our batter all mixed up. Okay, so here's our batter all mixed up. And looking nice and cottage cheesy and eggy. And it's just a matter of mixing it well. Steve saved me here. What you're supposed to add into the batter also is 1 cup of the cheddar cheese. Reserving a half a cup of cheddar cheese because we're going to sprinkle that on the top for baking. So let's get this blended in there. Thank you, Steve. So this recipe requires us to saute the onions, the jalapeno, and the broccoli. And typically you would take a skillet or in your Dutch oven and do that. The problem with doing it in your Dutch oven is that you got to get the Dutch oven really hotter than it's going to need to be for baking. And then you got to take the stuff out, and then you got to mix it in your batter, then pour the batter back in, and it's a multi-step process, and not always does it work out really well. So we've got a charcoal chimney going here, and it's pretty darn hot, and these lids make fantastic saute pans. So when you get your charcoal good and hot like this, just take your lid, put it over charcoal chimney. Now it's going to stifle some of that heat, so we don't have a lot of time to do this, but it's going to work really well. It's going to get hot really quick, and we're going to be able to get this going. We're going to have a butter bath here, and we'll use it the rest in our Dutch oven. And we're going to start out with the onions and the jalapenos, and we'll start sauteing those, and you'll hear them go in just a couple minutes. We'll get those things going to where we need to be softening those up and releasing all those essential oils and flavors together. Well, our onions are coming and the jalapenos are coming along really nice. You smell that?
Oh yeah,
is that good?
Smells great.
So about time we're going to add our garlic in there. We're going to saute our broccoli too. Get that heated up. We got some sizzle.
Oh boy, does that smell nice.
So things are sauteing where I want them to be now. So what I want to do is I'm going to take my lid trivet, set it over here on my 12-inch because I'm not going to be using that right this second. I'm going to take my lid off of the coals, and we're just going to set that aside right now. Time to place our coals where we need them. So I'm going to need 7 coals on the bottom because we're baking. And making sure I don't burn myself here, I'm going to get about that many and put them in a nice little circle about the size of the bottom of the Dutch oven around the legs. So I got 4/8. And we'll put the Dutch oven there. So we need to add our sauteed vegetables into the batter. So why don't you grab that, Steve?
Okay, finally putting me to work.
Finally putting you to work. No longer a pretty face. And let's get these all in there.
What a smell. Oh.
Okay. So let's get this in there. Nice thing about this recipe is it's just a plopper. We're just going to plop it in. Spread that out. Make it look as pretty as I can make it. Which is not very pretty. You'll get the lid on that, Steve, and we'll start cooking. This cornbread is going to take about 40 minutes to bake, so we might as well get that chili going. What do you say, Steve? You ready to make some chili?
Let's go.
What are we doing here?
Well, we're making, as we mentioned earlier, what's called a Pedernales chili. We're going to saute up some onions. We've got some diced tomatoes. A little bit of garlic, fresh garlic, of course. All this is fresh. A little bit of oregano, teaspoon of cumin, ground cumin, and a little bit of about a teaspoon of
three teaspoons.
3 teaspoons. It's I'm a seat of the pants. Gary's helping me correct here. So yeah, start with about 2 to 3 of the chili powder, because you can add, but it's pretty hard to take it away. Some hot sauce of your choice, salt and pepper, and the original recipe, if you look it up online, just said water. I use beef stock and add a little bit of Worcestershire, which really goes nicely with the beef.
Well, we're going to use a 12-inch Camp Chef Dutch oven, and because we're going to be sautéing the meat and the onions, we're going to dump a bunch of coals on the bottom of that to get it hot enough to sauté. We're not going to use the lid trick this time. So we got our coals, we got a little pile there, probably about 20 coals. That's going to get our Dutch oven hot enough to sauté. And we're not going to add any oil or anything because we're going to use the fat from the beef, right?
Right.
Okay. And that's 2 pounds of ground chuck in a chili grind.
The point is, it's a lot coarser.
Well, it's already sizzling up.
Yeah, this is good.
Doesn't take long with cast iron.
Well, we've browned our beef. It's all up, looking good. Next, we want to get the onion and garlic in there, get them softened up a little bit. And they'll start soaking up some of the juice and the flavor. And that's why I don't do them separate. Garlic. And once our onions and garlic are all softened up and starting to give a little aroma there, take a cup and a half, 2 cups, or a can of diced tomatoes, and add them. Then instead of water, we'll add about 2 cups of beef stock. And then we'll add our teaspoon of oregano, teaspoon of cumin, and I think we started with what did I tell you?
3 tablespoons of chili powder there.
The chili
So
powder.
you're going to put all of it or some of it?
Well, I don't know what y'all like, so I'll just start with some of it.
Well, we're both eating it, buddy.
A little bit of Worcestershire to just give it a little more beef flavor. I don't know, tablespoon. Once this is cooked for a while, we want to taste it, and then we'll adjust from there. We're going to add salt, we're going to add a little pepper, and optionally you can add more hot sauce to bring it up a little bit. The important thing is get this in there and get it cooking for a little while.
Okay, so how long at this point would you leave it in?
Well, actually longer better, but I would give it generally probably about an hour.
Okay, all right. Okay, so you cook this typically with the lid on.
With the lid on, keeps the heat on. It's like the old saying, if you're looking, it ain't cooking.
Yep.
Too much heat escapes, so it like encapsulates it in there. Then when you get near an hour, start checking 45 minutes or thereabout. Pull the lid off, and if it's too thin yet, leave the lid off, let it evaporate, thicken up, and turn down.
So while our chili is cooking, our cornbread is actually really close to done, and I'm going to take a quick peek here, make sure that we can let it rest, and will you look at that? That is a thing of beauty. So what I want to do here is get the coals out from underneath, because it looks like I'm getting some browning here, and I don't want to burn it, and this pot will keep on cooking while these coals are on here. So I want to get those away, and just very simply taking my shovel And I'm going to slide them away without making a big mess. We'll put our pot down there. And remember our chili, or our cheese that we had left over, about a half a cup. Time to put that on there. Just more or less to accent it. It's not a, a heavy coating. And then we want to put our lid back on, but I'm going to go knock off those coals because I don't want it to do anything cook-wise. I just want it to use its residual heat from the pot to finish this up. Well, our cornbread's done. That we know for sure. Chili's been cooking about an hour now. Got it a nice simmer, and I think we're ready to serve up.
I sure hope so.
My stomach's ready.
I am too.
So let's take a look at your chili. And take a look at that beauty right there.
Looking good. Nice slow simmer.
And that's what it's supposed to look like.
Yep.
Nice and thick and meaty. Really, it's a real hearty chili there. That looks fantastic.
It may be a little more liquid than you're used to seeing if you're buying canned chilies and that sort of thing. That's the way it's supposed to be.
Dinner served, lunch is served. Fantastic fall meal. Chili, cornbread, all packed with wonderful flavor. And great guest, Steve Howard.
Thank you for having me.
Amazing.
Appreciate it.
It's been fantastic. This is a huge, huge treat for me. This chili, we've already sneaked in a couple bites in here. Sorry, it's the way it is. It's absolutely packed full of flavor.
Yeah.
And I really, really like that. Now, some people will violate it and put cheese on there. Are you a cheese guy?
I have no problem with cheese, any of the above toppings. Fact is, we talked earlier about the beans, no beans. If you really, your friends, your family, you really got to have beans. Throw in a can of pinto beans.
If you want.
Yeah. Yes, there's no law. The chili cops aren't going to come get you.
No, not at all. This cornbread, if you see that, it's just packed with cheese and jalapeno and onion and broccoli. Reese's, you guys did really wonderful on this recipe. And that's it, man. This has been a great episode. I hope you like it. I hope you check things out. Go see Steve at
growingyourgrub.com or on YouTube.
On YouTube?
Or on YouTube at Cook's Garden.
All right. We're out of here. We're going to eat some chili. It's been fun. Thanks. Hey, I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Cooking Everything Outdoors show. But without my sponsors, none of this would be possible. Camp Chef at OutdoorCooking.com and Island Grillstone at IslandGrillstone.com. Two great companies with really fantastic products. Go visit them, go say hi, and go buy something. If you want to find out more about me, you can find me on Pinterest, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, iTunes, and of course, cooking-outdoors.com, where I'm always coming up with something crazy and new. This is Gary House, and I will see you when I see you.